Duit, agus fáilte, charas. Hello and welcome, beautiful witches, souls, me owl flowers. So today we are continuing our final temple library entry of this series. It should be in a playlist by the time I am recording this. So we looked at ritual to indoctrination, we looked at the Magdalene laundries, we looked at the tomb, mother and baby home, we looked at the Christian brothers, we looked at the industrial and reform skills, and now we're taking a look at women's Ireland's hidden wounds, women's health and medical mistreatment. So grab a cup of tea or some sort of liquids and join me at the hearth. So again, as ever, I do have a candle lighting here, and I will also be closing this off with some root chakra sacred frequencies of the bowl. So you're welcome to join me for that. Also, just a quick religious disclaimer to go gentle with yourself, and plus there will be a sound bath coming up next for closing, clearing and integration for anyone that's came through the journey and witnessed at the hearth on this series. So we are going to get stuck in here, beautiful witches. Across the world, as you know, I do have notes here. Across the world, women's health has often been misunderstood, under-researched and underfunded. Ireland was no exception to this, as you can imagine. Sorry, when I laugh like that, I'm not laughing at the tragedies and atrocities that started taking place. I feel like I just do that because otherwise I'm actually going to cry or get really angry. So in this temple library entry, I'll be speaking about women's health, medical mistreatment, bodily autonomy, and the historical influence of the church and the state within Ireland. As always, move gently with yourself while witnessing. Internationally, as we know, there has been a wide history and mistreatment of women in the medical system. Ireland's no exception. Women's health has been neglected in our country due to the connection between religious institutions and sexual health. So sexual health for the Catholic religion was about providing children. From a woman's point of view or perspective, this was formed by the church's teachings around sexual health or women looking for contraception. It was illegal up until the 1980s for contraception in Ireland. If you wanted some of that, you did have to go up north back then. So alongside the restrictions around contraception and reproduction, the autonomy, many women in Ireland also grew up within deep cultures of shame surrounding sexuality, the body and womanhood itself. Conversations around sex or menstruation, pregnancy or reproductive health were often hidden, silenced or treated with guilt rather than openness or care. So, just to give you a scope, the maternity hospitals were established in Ireland around the 1700s, but this doesn't mean that all women had access to hospitals back then. I am going to go in now in moments and give you some examples of 3 generations. And you can see the changes from me nannies to my ma's and then to mine, you know, but they just were not prepared for this at all. And I know you can never be prepared for all of that, but literally the amount of non-existent information that was around, and there was nothing talked about, you know, I'll get into that now in a moment. So the maternity hospitals had existed, as I mentioned, in Ireland for centuries, but many women of my nanny's generation still gave birth at home, often without any supports and no pain relief. Childbirth was something that women were expected to endure quietly and get through. Men weren't allowed to attend the birth back then. They were usually just sent off to the pub or whatever, and it's something the women done, which I add personally pissed me off, because it does take two to tango, you know, but I'll stay focused. So yeah, my nanny had my dad in the house, and he was £10. Like, he nearly killed her. She was only a tiny little woman. God rest her, like, she was only tiny. Yeah, and not a scratch or a thing of pain relief, you know. So then, by the time my ma had me in the 80s, the hospital births were far more common, but it was overcrowded. There was a lack of privacy. Different experiences around labour and care. They weren't prepared, as I said, educated, and like that. My ma, excuse me, my throat chakra. My ma went into labour on me and thought that she had food poisoning. So like, this tells you how underprepared you are, you know. And then I remember saying to me when I was pregnant, like, you'll be grand, I thought I had food poisoning. And then I went into labour, I was like, what the fuck's she on about? We're strange now, that's neither here nor there, but like, it was nothing like fucking food poisoning. If anybody's after having a kid, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was well nothing like that. But anyway, also there was only like a curtain between the other person having a baby, like, you know, back in the 80s. So it was rough, I'm not gonna lie, and it hasn't really changed too much. Like, so by the time I had my daughter, we're talking nearly 11 years ago now, so yeah, around 2015, I had her, and so much had changed. Fathers were allowed to attend the births. They were allowed when my mum was having us as well, but there was birth classes, there was conversations on women's health that was way more open. You know, women had more access as well than previous generations. Yet though, like, many women speak about not feeling fully heard, supported or understood within the medical systems. I know lots of women personally as well that have had like rough labours, and I know everyone says labour isn't easy, but it's like it's kind of like a conveyor belt feeling, you know. I don't know if I wrote it down there, but like, I remember them saying to me halfway through my labour, like, you know, we're gonna, if you don't hurry up dilating quicker, we're gonna have to give you something to speed them up, because we need this room for the next person. I was just thinking, for fuck's sake, like, this is meant to be fucking a life-changing moment here, you know what I mean? And I'm getting fucking sped through the thing, you know. But here, I'll keep on track. So even, like I said, yeah, conveyor belts. I remember feeling as well how busy and overstretched the system was even back then. So I can imagine what it's like now, going in and having a baby. And you know, like, all the women were exhausted and overwhelmed after labour, and then you're expected to move straight into motherhood, you know, while you're surrounded by lots of other women and kids in this ward that is all going through different experiences, and little or no space to like emotionally process what the fuck is just after happening to you. And you know, it's such a life-changing experience. And then, you know, the father is told, right, it's time for you to go home after like an hour, and then you're just left there on your own to be dealing with a brand new little human that's dependent on you. You know, it's fucking crazy. Like it really is, because like you're just not supported at all, really. Like, maybe if you're in a different class and you have money, maybe it's a different story, but I'm coming from a working class experience here, and it's usually what it is. So while experiences around childbirth and women's health had changed across generations, Ireland still carries a more hidden and painful history around women, around their bodily autonomy, around medical treatment, and around institutional attitudes towards women's health. Okay, so we're going into and touching on here just a little bit of the dark history. So in the Republic of Ireland between 1944 and 1987, an estimated 1,500 women underwent surgeries. I'll pop the name up here on the screen because I don't know how to pronounce it, and I don't want to even explain what it is. If you want to have a little look into it there yourself and see what it is, I'll tell you now, it's horrendous. And you know, also there is another part there that, like, after 3 cesarean sections, women were sterilised, you know, and there was different doctors that were non-Catholic that wanted to do it a nicer way, but the Catholic doctors recommended compassionate hysterectomies as a way of sterilisation. And also, just to mention, if you wanted to look into a little bit more, the case of Savita Halapanavir, I'm going to pop the name up, I hope I've pronounced that properly, and also the cervical check scandal that happened also. This revealed ongoing issues around women's healthcare, around bodily autonomy, transparency, and institutional systems. So I am going to leave up some resources here. There is a book, I should be actually getting it tomorrow. I did order it. I'll pop up a picture of it here on the screen. It's called Threatening Women, A Cultural History of Why Ireland Shamed and Contained Women, by Dr. Belinda Viggers. If you feel drawn, there's also some articles, but I have to say there wasn't much resources at all. With the women's health and medical mistreatment, it's a lot more fragmented, it's a lot more quieter, it's buried inside the articles and reports, and I feel like the absence says a lot in itself, you know. So in a moment we are going to close this temple entry with some root chakra sacred sound. Thank you if you have followed along this far and witnessed. If you have followed the series also. It has been emotional. I am going to, as I said, close this temple entry in a moment with some root chakra sacred sound, but I am just going to take a moment of remembrance. May we continue to remember the women whose voices, pain, experiences and autonomy were so often silenced or overlooked. And may we honour not only the suffering carried through generations, but also the strength, the resilience and the change that continues to unfold.